Welcome everyone to this session. We are going to talk about the open access compliance tool that we have developed recently. It's a PowerBI dashboard. I'm Veronica Cano. I'm the Scholarly Communications Officer at the College of Arts, Humanities and Social Science. And my colleague is Nick Hussein, Research Information System Manager in the Research Information System team. If you came to our session yesterday, this is sort of a continuation of it. It's like the sequel. So you'll get to see now the work of one of the working groups within the Research Output Network. So since 2016, the Scholarly Communications team in the University of Edinburgh have been pulling open access compliance reports for REF. These reports were shared amongst administrators of colleges, schools, and institutes with Alcon units, and were also discussed in Research Governance Committee meetings. These reports were Excel reports. They extracted data from Pure into Excel. They required a lot of data manipulation, and they were very time-consuming. And the only thing that was monitored was REF open access compliance. So UKRI and Wellcome Trust was left to units to monitor. So what we needed to create was reports that had up-to-date data that could report on several funders' compliance, that were less time-consuming, but also that were fit to the different audiences. So on the one hand, we needed them to fit the administrators' needs, which is monitoring open access compliance. And on the other hand, we needed them to fit the needs of senior management, which is essentially knowing the rates of open access compliance across the university. So in order to address these needs, the Research Output Network created a working group for reporting. And the first thing was that they faced two main challenges. And they were both caused by the fact that each unit has its own structures of managers and administrators, but also its own processes and procedures for open access monitoring. So the first challenge was to ensure that each unit had a process in place to enforce compliance. And the second one was to keep all the different audiences informed on the rates of compliance. So to develop the open access compliance report, we first looked into pure functionalities. So we looked into workspaces. So workspaces are great because they have really up-to-date data on them. There's also a REF compliance algorithm coded in them already. So those were the benefits. However, for the purposes of a university-wide compliance report, what we thought that it was problematic was the fact that each user can only see what managed records they have. So on the reporting on workspaces, you can only see your managed records. You can't see anything else. So essentially, we would need a workspace for each user. So we thought that PowerBI dashboard was going to allow us to, from one data set, extract different reports. And also it was going to allow us to create our own algorithm for planners. So the report was developed by Research Information Systems team, which Nick here manages. They are the ones that are developing in Power BI. The Research Output Network working group, what we've done is essentially provide report templates and suggestions for visualizations and tested it. So all the credit goes to Nick's team. I essentially just ask what I want, and then Nick goes and develops it, which is great. So all the credit to them. So as you will see on the demo afterwards that Nick has prepared, the reports have two categories. The first one is an overview of research outputs, so it shows the number and type of outputs in Pure. So this is helpful to inform about the volume of work, but it's also useful for checking trends, for example. And the second is the Open Access Compliance Board. So this board displays outputs that fall under the open access policy. So these are only articles and conference proceedings, and they only show once they've been published. So this is once the record has been completed. And it is at that point that we can see if there's anything missing, if there's a date of acceptance missing or an accepted manuscript. The dashboard had a phase release, so it could be tested at different levels. So first, the RON members got to test it, and then it went to the different units, research management teams, and then once they tested it, it went to senior management. So by the time senior management got the reports, it had already been tested by 2 main groups. So to disseminate the dashboard and just for training purposes, some bite-sized sessions have been created. This is, again, Research Information Systems team that have created these sessions. They're about 20 minutes to half an hour, and essentially they are designed to show the functionalities of the Power BI, ensure that people know how to use them, and ensure that they know how to get the underpinning data for every visualization. Yeah, they are all recorded just in case people can't attend, and they're about 30 minute sessions. As a new tool, we also wanted to ensure that there was a review process in place. So to collect all this feedback and comments, we've created a form, which actually was just distributed this week. This is going to go to all peer users, so they can just comment on the usability of the dashboard and just add any suggestions. So the feedback will be reviewed on the working group in January, and then we are hoping to implement the comments and suggestions on February 2023. Hopefully by then we will also know what the REF open access policy is, so we will have some grounds to start creating that functionality. So yeah, as I was saying, the report currently has REF open access compliance, but the plans are to introduce PLANES compliance. So we are already working on this at the moment, and also to include the REF open access compliance once it's announced.
I'm Nick. So this is a live demo with dummy data. So it kind of shows you the dashboard, right? So you've opened up with a page. Now, before I go into more detail, there are quite a lot of administrators across the university, as Veronica was saying, and many of them would not have used Power BI before. Okay, so they're very nervous about it. So we need to make sure that there's a lot of textual information in there that will guide them through the reports and tell them what it's all about. Okay, so this is why we have an opening page here that tells you what the purpose of the reports are and the 2 groups of reports that are included. And then we also have a bit of information about where the data is coming from and when it's going to be updated. And we also have some contact addresses for help and support at the bottom, just in case they needed a bit more help or advice or a bit more in-depth understanding about the data. So that's on the front page. Now, it did say start with research outputs in overview, so I'll just show you that. And so as Veronica was saying, we have 3 colleges, and each college will have its own needs about what they want displayed and what they want to include in their reports to their management teams, which is why we have 3 separate reports for the 3 separate colleges, right? So if I go into College 1 of the schools, we just make sure that this fits into the page. So this is a simple layout. It's not the most sophisticated dashboard report, shall we say. So it's got some information in it. It doesn't have a lot of information, but it is a work in progress, and it's something that we can work on. So we can see that college has this number of research outputs that have been created. These are the association or the schools within the college and the type of research outputs that have been created within that time frame. We have a date filter there. So if they wanted to send monthly reports, for example, to their management teams about records created within the last 3 months, they can change the date filter, and they can change the date filter to show things that have been recently published as well. Now, in Pure, you've got associated records and managed records. So if they only wanted to show records that they manage, meaning they created, then they can use the managed organization unit to filter out those records as well. But yeah, you can see this is an overview. What they can do is they can export this as a PDF if they so wish, and they can then include that PDF in the monthly reports that they send to their management teams. Okay. So that's for the school reports. Now this is for College 1. College 2 wasn't too concerned about the type of research outputs, so we decided not to. They said they don't want to have the type of research outputs included in the record. That's fine. So we did not include that for their report. If I fit this to page, you'll see a similarity, but the table just looks at the research centers because this is how research is managed at that college. So it is by research center instead of schools or deaneries for that college that are included in the report. Okay, so we try to tailor it as much as possible to what each college needs are. And that's just the overview report. And at the top here, it says that we are including records that have been accepted, e-published, or published from the 1st of January 2020, because we're looking at the records that are in the next ref cycle, basically. Okay, so let's go to ref 2021 open access policy. Again, here is a rundown of the reports that are in there, what type of items are included in each group of reports, and what the time frame is for the records that were included. So for these reports, for the first group of reports that looks at records that have been published and validated, we're looking at records that were accepted for publication from the 1st of January 2021. Okay, they've been published, they've been validated, so they should have been completed. So if we look at that one first, this is the College 1, included completed records. If we fit this to page, you'll see that you've got compliance numbers here for the different schools. So you're looking at the ref open access compliance statuses that Pure generates, the logic in Pure generates, we're using those, and we're then producing some numbers and percentages for each of the schools within that college. So for the administrators, as Veronica was saying, it's a way to flag to them that there might be something to do here, because if these records have been completed, meaning published and validated, there shouldn't be any indeterminate ones, and there shouldn't be any ones that have to be confirmed for exceptions. So this would be a flag for them to go and look further into those records, and they can use the drill through in that to look at the completed records list that brings up more information about the records. So here we've got a link to the research output record in Pure. It also tells them who, if I just fit this to page again, you'll see who the managing organizational unit is for that. So if they go into this list and they're from a school that hasn't managed that record, they'll know they'll need to get into contact with the administrators from that school to work towards finding out what's wrong with this record. Why is it indeterminate? Okay, so it's to prompt them into some sort of action. The most popular button on this page for the users was the clear all filters button. PowerBI, everybody's a bit nervous, they're not sure what to do. Clearing filters was a big thing for them, so, just having that button was quite reassuring for them. Okay? So it tells you what the exceptions are and everything, so it allows you to deal through. So that's for completed records, and we have a report for each college to look at their schools, but there are also 2 additional reports for 2 colleges that want to show compliance reports for their institutes and their research groups and departments, for example. So if we look at in-progress records, if I go back to the menu, you'll see that we have a second group of reports here that look at in-progress records. So this might be more of interest for administrators. If you go into College 1 for in-progress records, if I just fit that to page, for example, you'll see that we've just got a list of records there that are included within the scope. So you've got contribution to journals, articles, and contribution to journals, review articles, and conference proceedings with and without ISSNs, because that might be a trigger for them to check whether the record needs an ISSN added to them or not. Included that were accepted, that have within its publication status at least one publication status from the 1st of January 2020. And the reason we included that is because of this filter here, if we wanted to see if that record did not have a date of acceptance, for example. So if it didn't have a date of acceptance, that could be a signal or a flag for the research output to go, why does it not have a data acceptance? Because if you don't have a data acceptance, as you know, it's not included in the logic, or the logic is not applied to the record. So if I clear all that filters again, they can also use that. So if they have something that they want to see, anything that has doesn't have a manuscript and it doesn't have a final published version as well, that could be something that could signal for them to be looking at if the current publication status is accepted. That could be something that they need to look at. So if you look at that first record there, you've got something that has a current publication status of accepted. It is a contribution to journal. It has no ref or open access compliance status. That again is a flag for them to go, something needs to be checked about that record. Okay, so it's a combination of the filters that they need to use to kind of find those records that they need to work on. And this is something that we talk users through during the bite-sized sessions. We have a list of tasks, for example, that they can work through during those sessions. If I clear those filters again, if I look at, this is something new that we've started doing as well for embargoing manuscripts, but not putting any embargo dates on them. So if we put in embargo dates and no embargo dates, it's embargoed, but it has no embargo dates, then it's something that they have to go back and action as well. So it's a flag for them to look at those records. So if I clear all filters here and bring you back to the page, that's the demo. So it's not terribly exciting. As I was saying to Nikolai, people are just going to go, is that it? Right, so it's not it. It's in progress, as I was saying. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. We want to put in the UKRI reports as well to look at monitoring compliance with UKRI Plan S. And then we also want to look at the new ref policy as it comes out and try to inject that as well. And this is really, as I was saying to Nikolai again, it's like the poor cousin, because for me, I would prefer for all of these to be done in Pure, because it's real-time data. And you don't have to move the data, but at the moment, we can't do that. And this is why we've decided to do this. So, thank you.